me is not to sit over in that chair and I'll be okay.
Yes.
Right, now what I need to do first off is turn your microphone on, Michael, so that we can actually talk to you. So we're very happy to have with us, we've got Michael Patterson, who's from Higher Truth. Now, Michael is a meditator, but he's also got a very interesting background in that he's a business consultant. Is that how you describe yourself?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, yeah. Can you hear you?
No, not quite.
You can't hear you either. Why can't I hear you? Because I haven't turned you on. That would be white bear.
What's that microphone?
Talk.
Okay.
Hey,
That's better.
there you
Now
are.
I'm on
Woohoo!
it. Now I'm on.
See,
All right.
there's a good reason I don't sit behind this chair
Excellent.
on this chair most of the time.
Mm.
Anyway, so tell us a little bit about your background, Michael, and how you came to do what you're doing.
Look, it really started in high school. I was just finishing off HSC, and as it was in those days, finishing year 12, and life was busy, studying hard, working, lots of sport. And my father had cancer, and my mum was a pharmacist, so she understood all the chemotherapy side of it and the radiotherapy, but she thought, look, I think we need to do something else. She was very involved in yoga, and it was making an enormous difference to her life. So she looked up, not the internet in those days, but
No.
she found out about Dr. Ian Gawler, who was a vet, decathlete.
I remember,
4
yep.
kids, busy man. And he was training one day, and his leg started to swell, and he thought, I know what this could be. I better get this checked out. So had it checked out, cut a long story short, had the leg amputated basically straight away, and said, look, if you don't get this, take it off now, there's no chance. So he had it taken off. A few months later, went back for checks, and the cancer was everywhere. And they said, look, really just need to get your affairs in order. You've got a 5% chance of surviving another month. And he thought, well, no, I've got to be here more than a month. So he'd always been interested in meditation. So he meditated for hours and hours a day, changed his diet, changed his life. And so Mum had heard about him. Mum and Dad went to his courses. I just started reading the books that Mum brought home. I thought, gee, this stuff makes so much sense. So I tried it, and I couldn't believe how different I felt. From sleepless nights, all those things that people complain about these days. I can't get to sleep, my mind's racing. Not unusual with HSC and studying, and you want to get a good score and all those sorts of things, so you feel this pressure. So that's where I started and have continued ever since. So it was over 30 years ago.
So you had no exposure to meditation or anything like that prior to that?
No.
Right.
No, it was just, I grew up watching my mum doing yoga, doing her headstands, on the floor in front of me while I was watching TV as a youngster, and then.
So how did she get into yoga? Because that wasn't a common thing back then, was it? Especially if she's going down that, and I'm going to use it as classify it as a narrow path or a very conventional path of being a pharmacist. What got her into yoga, do you know? Yeah,
look, absolutely. She was really interested in sport, loved a sport, but she was having some back problems, and she went to the doctor, and the doctor said, look, your spine is in a mess. You'll probably be in a wheelchair in a year or two, and for Mum that would be almost like, life's going to end if I can't play all my sport.
Yeah.
So he said, look, the one thing you could try is yoga. Maybe the stretching of the spine will help, and the strengthening of different areas.
Yeah.
So she did that, and she realised that actually there's much more to yoga than just the health side. And she's been amazing ever since.
Wow. Is she still with us?
Yes, still with us. She
still doing yoga?
No, unfortunately, as of a couple of years ago, she moved into a nursing home, and a couple of TIAs, as they call them, transient ischemic attacks.
Otherwise known as a stroke?
Yes, absolutely.
So Ian's still going out, is Ian still going out?
Yes.
Yes. He's actually retired from the Gawler Foundation, but he's still going strong, and he's still heavily involved.
Was he only in his 70s, isn't he, Ian?
Oh, look, I'd say so. It's funny. Yeah. I remember hearing that he'd retired a few years ago, and I thought, he can't have retired. He's way too young for that. Because I'd seen him, and then thought, oh, hang on. No, he was a decathlete, and he was a vet, and then he'd done all that sort of stuff. I thought, no, he's well and truly at retiring age.
Yeah. So, okay, so you started to meditate. So how did you yourself learn?
For me, it was just reading the books was enough. There was enough information in the books in those days to say, look, here's what you can try. So I tried it because there wasn't any apps or anywhere else to go, and I just took to it. It just felt really natural, and I guess I've got a bit of a scientific background, so I've always been keen on the science behind it. And reading about the science, I thought, there's lots of really good reasons for doing this. I'll just try it, and just the feeling that I had, the mental clarity, the being able to go to sleep straight away when you fall into bed and hit the pillow, all those basic things just transformed overnight, and then my meditation journey has continued on and on since then. I've done lots of different courses, and I'm actually qualified as a teacher. And 10 or so years ago I thought, actually, why aren't I teaching meditation? This is really important. I was in corporate life, but it was time to move on from corporate life and start teaching meditation.
It's interesting because I tried meditation, should I say, and I think you and I have had this conversation before.
Yes.
I started about probably 30 years ago, and I was working in the city, and Ainsley Mears was doing courses at lunchtime.
He taught Ian Gawler.
Yes, he did. And we went, it was my ex-husband, husband at the time, and I went in at lunchtime and sat in these incredibly upright, very uncomfortable wooden chairs and sat there, and I did the going through the shopping list and going through the things I need to do afterwards, and I sat there for a whole hour, and I could remember fidgeting, thinking, when's this going to click in? When am I going to work it out? How does it going to work? And my whole monkey brain just did not stop. So I'm really intrigued as to how you got to so seemingly so effortlessly got to switch it off.
Look, I think I was very fortunate. It worked quite easily for me, but I think there was enough in the books for me to go, I can see, it talked about all those things happening and just to be the observer of them and to not worry about the thoughts being there. And as soon as you stop worrying about them, almost they start to slow down. And meditation's really about moving into sensing and moving away from thinking. And when you do that, when you start to notice different sensations in the body, when that becomes your focus, the mind just quietens down. So
would you say that you kind of meditate your way through life these days?
I wish. No, 3 kids, still have a very busy life, and yes, I do my business advising during the day as well. So a busy enough life, but the meditation is really a big part of it. And I know the more I meditate, the easier life is.
You see, I think for those of us who've got that kind of hurry, ding dong lifestyle, which 99% of us do these days,
yes,
the whole idea of putting aside an hour to meditate, as opposed to putting in you've got an hour, okay? Let's say you can find an hour in your day. You either go to the gym and do something physical, because we're all obsessed with how we look, or I can invest that hour in quietening my mind. How do you position those for people in terms of benefits?
Or you could do all those things on your to-do list, which is what most people do. I've got all these things I really need to do.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. How do I carve out that hour?
And my recommendation is don't start with an hour. It's way too much. Way too much. I started with 5 minutes a day. Yeah. So most people go, 5 minutes, I can do 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So for me, it was just sitting on the end of the bed for 5 minutes, feeling my body relaxing and thinking, that feels pretty good. Jump into bed, go to sleep. And I just did that every day, and over time, the time just went up naturally because it just felt so good. I just wanted to keep doing it. So keeping the time really short to start with makes it much more achievable.
Yeah, well, that reminds me, because I did TM, Transcendental Meditation, for a while, and that was 20 minutes, and that was quite doable. It's not a long time.
So what's the difference between Transcendental Meditation and mindfulness meditation?
Well, I don't know the answer to that, but I know what Transcendental Meditation is, which is really just repeating a secret phrase you say to yourself, and it for me it was very effective very quickly. But so
it's a form of trancing. It's a mantra type thing, isn't it?
It's a mantra. Yeah. It's saying the same words over and over again.
But I was a lot younger then, and I probably had less things on my mind.
Well, it's interesting given that Michael started as a teenager, essentially.
Yeah.
To you saying that you have less on your mind, and Michael's saying, well, I had a busy mind because I had so much going on with school.
Yeah, maybe I was just more focused on that sort of meditation, and I was doing martial arts and all that. So that my life was revolving around that sort of thing. So it was.
Mine revolved around parties at that age.
So that interesting. I'm interested to know if you find a certain style of meditation more effective, or is it just? I guess it's not any meditation is good meditation. Well, perhaps it is actually.
I was about to say, well, actually, there's lots of different ways to meditate, and I say to people that there's no one right way.
No.
Just find what works for you. That's really all that's important. And in the courses that I run, I'll take people through lots of different sort of styles of meditation so they can find what works best for them.
I noticed that
and
in
then
your introduction.
You just stick on it.
You say in it's your introduction to meditation course, is it?
Mm-hmm.
That you say that is really, I thought, I even wrote it down, a quote that I can't even find right now, but I remember thinking, that sounds like a really good way to approach it, that you've got to find the one that fits you.
Yes. It's really, and you know, Tim, you were mentioning that the transcendental meditation worked for you.
Yeah.
That's just really, repeating that same saying over and over in your mind, and by doing that almost clouds out all the other thoughts. So that's one technique. Other techniques are progressive muscle relaxation, being aware of breathing. There's so many different ways you can do it. And you just find what most works effectively for you.
And another thing I've actually found effective more recently than other times, but I probably come across it in other pursuits of life, is I'm doing painting, and I found that quite meditative. So in other words, you don't want people to get fixed on you must be doing the, and that's something we can talk about, the sitting in a lotus position type meditation. It can be other activities which are actually quite meditative because you're concentrating a lot on something.
Yes, and you're fully present and focused.
Gardening.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Gardening. All of those things, generally you move into the present moment and you're doing what you're doing. That's why being aware of your breathing or noticing your body relaxing, you can only do that in real time. You can't say, gee, how well was my body relaxing yesterday? Or what's my breathing like tomorrow? You can't do it. And things like painting, you're concentrating, you're focused, and you're present. You're in the moment, enjoying what you do. So you just get into this quiet space.
So what are the benefits that you noticed, apart from sleep, immediately? And how long did it take you to notice the benefits?
Look, I was really lucky. I noticed a difference within a week. I did it every day, and I couldn't believe just an overall feeling of well-being. I just felt better. I just felt happier. I felt more relaxed. My mind just was so much quieter. And, people that have busy minds, and so many people come to me and say, gee, my mind is racing all the time. I've been there, and it is a really unpleasant experience. I was, in corporate life working on a very long, hard project, and with early mornings, late nights, and at one stage I couldn't fit the meditation. I thought, I just don't have time for this.
Oh, is that because you mentioned in your website that you stopped at one stage?
Because there's just too much to do.
Yeah.
And then I'd be waking up at 4 a.m, mind racing. I've got to do this, and this, and what about that? And I was going through all those things that I'd probably been through when I was at HSC, not quite to the same, or probably to a worse level than in HSC.
Yeah.
And I thought, this is ridiculous. I just need to get back to meditation. As soon as I do that, I know everything falls into place, and that's what happened. I just started meditating again. Again, didn't have to be a long session, 10 minutes. I think my general meditation practice was around 20 minutes. And it was like that for years. And lots of time, nowhere near 20 minutes. I haven't got time for 20 minutes, but I'll do 5 minutes here, I'll do 10 minutes there. And that was enough to just let the mind settle down. And then all of a sudden you just start to feel better. And with clarity, you actually get a lot more done.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's
That's
sometimes the
positive
thinking
Yes, the
about
time,
things that really throws you, because you're so busy in your mind, you're actually not doing anything.
So the time, Jane, what you're talking about, how do you find an hour a day, which of course you don't necessarily need, is you actually recuperate that in ways of energy and stuff. You've got more energy to do things in less time.
More energy and more clarity and more focus.
Yeah.
It's amazing how much you can get done in a day when you're in a still, quiet spot. You just do one thing and it's done. Then you move on to the next one. Then you move on to the next one. And it's amazing. Yeah, I think
it's the whole wax
get
on, wax
far,
off thing.
get far more done now than I ever used to.
She's Not There, high energy song, considering we're talking about a very slower energy type of practice here.
Let's bring it right down.
Let's bring it right down. Go.
So, Michael,
Fall asleep in 3 seconds.
Yeah. Michael, I see you do chakra meditation. It's interesting. Can you tell me and perhaps explain what chakras are to people who don't know? That I understand there's 7 major chakras in the body. Do you run through all those in your meditations, or?
Yes, we do, and it's a progressive program that course generally runs for 10 weeks.
Yeah.
And we work on each individual chakra, and chakra really it's like wheel of light or an energy center. So often people have limited awareness of what's going on deep inside the body. I mean, even when people first start and do some progressive muscle relaxation, they'll start going, gee, I had no idea I was so tight. So if they're not even aware of how tight muscles are sometimes, then there's almost no sensitivity to anything deeper. So often people will start with, learn to meditate or meditation for beginners, and then once they've gone past that, they go, gee, actually, I'm starting to sense that there's more to this meditation than just the deep relaxation, which has amazing benefits anyway. So often they will do the chakra meditation course, and it's about becoming much more sensitive to what's going on deep inside the body.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And as you balance out the energy in those areas, issues that you're dealing with in life suddenly no longer seem to be issues. Things change, your perspective changes. And I also introduced some what's called insight meditation in that course, which is where you actually start introducing thinking back into meditation. And people go, thinking, meditation? No, you're not meant to think in meditation. But no, that's just a different type of meditation.
Yeah. So you're really becoming in control of your thoughts more than letting them run randomly through your head all the time.
Yeah, what generally happens is you get into a really quiet place, and then when you ask yourself a question in that quiet place, the answers are much clearer, and you just have a different perspective. If you're trying to work out a problem just in the busyness of every day, there's usually so much other noise in your head, you can't see what the right answer is. When you're in a quiet space in meditation and you ask yourself a question, the answer is blindingly obvious. You go, that's what I need to do.
Yeah.
How could I not see that before?
So you actually approach it with a question in mind. You're not just waiting for insights to suddenly appear from nowhere.
That's right. That's right. So the first part of it is just becoming sensitive to the chakras and working the way through that system. And then, there's some set questions that we're asking to try and help people gain awareness.
Yeah.
How would you say that chakra meditations differ to something like Yoga Nidra, which sounds pretty similar?
That's a good question. I haven't done Yoga Nidra myself, so...
Okay, from my experience in Yoga Nidra is it is a meditation. It's basically you do go through the chakras, you talk about the different colours of the chakras and flooding your body with those colours and I've only ever done it, and we were talking in the off period while Santana was playing about the fact that I'm someone who has struggled to meditate just by sitting myself in a quiet place, and I've gone with guided meditations. And one of the first ones I got into was a Yoga Nidra guided meditation, which I just found fascinating to be able to get in. And of course, it was on cassette, and it ended up being chewed up, and I can't get another copy of it. So I've had to source other things. But anyway, if you haven't experienced Yoga Nidra, no problem.
But it's very similar.
Yeah,
absolutely. Now that you describe it, yes, that's very similar.
Yeah, there's no poses involved. You just sit there and listen. How do you teach meditation? Because it is an experiential thing.
It is. So generally there's a bit of an introduction, just giving people a bit of an understanding about what's going on and more the approach to take. It doesn't matter if your thoughts are busy. If you move into the observer role, it's a little bit like if you imagine that the thoughts are like clouds in the sky. Rather than being at that level of the clouds, rather than being in the thoughts, just move up into the blue sky and just watch the thoughts and let them come and let them go, and don't engage with them.
That's the challenge.
Yes.
Don't engage with them.
Did you have to start, Jane?
What do you mean you have to start?
Well, like the journey of 1,000 steps, it begins with the first step.
Yeah. And as I said, I have sat, but really find it. It's like saying to me, there's a whole piece of chocolate cake there, but you can't eat it. You can just look at it. I was like, how hard's that?
But the other way is if you're going to eat it, you need to start eating it.
I'm not getting that analogy real well, but anyway,
the
maybe my analogy wasn't very good.
If you want to improve your meditation, you need to start meditating.
You just need to meditate.
I guess.
Yeah.
Rather than saying, I just can't get it, it's not happening.
Oh, well, that's why I've gone to the tapes, because or there's apps and there's YouTubes and things like that I've used, because I've found exactly that. I know that I would get some benefit from it. And some days when I'm lying there in bed and my mind's just going a gazillion miles an hour, I think I've just got to switch something on to switch myself off.
Yes, and I'll give a brief explanation, but then I actually take it as a guided meditation. So I lead people through it, because if I was to say to you, look, we're just going to sit here in silence for the next 40 minutes, most people would be climbing the walls.
Which is what we did with Ainsley Mears, exactly.
Yeah, that was the way it was taught in the past, and
okay.
that would be a very challenging way to do it. There's lots of courses that do it that way. No, I actually guide people through it. So when we first start, of a 40-minute meditation, it might be 30 to 35 minutes of me talking and just leading them through the process. So then they're in such a deep, quiet space. When we move into the quiet part of the meditation, they're already there.
Beautiful.
So they just stay with it. Now, over time, the quiet part of the meditation gets longer. And it's interesting, people's perspective is, especially at the end of, say, 5 or 6 weeks, I'll be going, do you know, that quiet part's quite short. I'm saying, well, no, actually it's half of it now. It's actually been 20 minutes. And they're going, oh, really?
Yeah,
Whereas
That's
5
for the ones
minutes.
who haven't fallen asleep.
That's right. With 5 minutes at the start is almost, people go, gee, 5 minutes seem to be forever. I was just waiting for you to finish. And then at the end, 20 minutes isn't enough. Oh,
Yeah.
why did you have to interrupt? I was in a really nice quiet space. Why did you interrupt me for?
I'm curious
So-
then as to how differently men and women approach meditation, especially beginners, I guess. What's your
Yes.
experience with that?
There's actually some really good research by a guy in the States that has done lots of studies on different approaches,
Yeah.
and by the nature of this research, it is sexist, but basically the results say that when women start meditating, the first thing they do is run through all the family and think, you know, are they cared for? Are they cared for? Are they all right? And they put everyone else's needs first. And then it comes down to, well, am I doing it right? Did it work? And there's lots of this self-doubt
That
and
sounds familiar.
self-questions. Men approach it completely differently. They say, okay, I'm here to do meditation, and if something doesn't work, well, what was wrong with the instructions? What didn't I understand? Because I'll be able to do it. It's just, so there's no, maybe I'm being a bit general here, but there's no thought of anyone else.
Yeah.
It's just about, well, what do I need to do here? And they just focus on it and do it.
These things are both happening inside their heads.
Yes,
That's the thing that stops them from getting to the meditation, is that they're thinking these different things. But
yes,
a man would sit there and go, oh, what did he say? What did he mean by that? And how does that work? And how's that
Yes.
going to help me?
yes,
So they're analysing the instructions to not analyse anything.
that's right.
Yes.
So that's why I lead people through it, to help
Yeah.
people get out of their heads and move back into sensing.
Yeah.
And as soon as you start sensing things, the mind will often want to play along and go, oh, well, should that feel that way? I didn't know you breathed that way. Shouldn't you be breathing that way? And it will try and throw up all these things.
It's
But
not
after
used
a
to it.
while,
Yeah.
that just quietens down. It's, if you ignore the thoughts for long enough, it's almost like they're saying, well, you're not going to pay me any attention. I'll just shut up.
Like small
And
children.
they just, I was
Mm.
I was going to say that, and I thought, oh, maybe I better not. Ignore them long enough and they go
or
away.
a puppy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what happens with the thoughts. Once
Feeding the
you
monster.
start ignoring the thoughts and you're interested that they're there, so, gee, I wonder what my next thought is. Oh, about work, that's interesting. Wonder what the next thought is. Oh, do I leave the stove on? That's interesting. I wonder what the next thought is.
So, okay, so
So you don't engage with the thought.
How do you do
So
that?
yeah, well, that's the thing. It's I wonder if I left the stove on. Oh, that's an interesting thought. Oh shit! I wonder if I did leave the stove on. I better go and look. That would be my automatic
Yes.
kind of
Yeah.
Yep.
reaction to
And,
that.
and that's the perfect example because...
Maybe that wasn't a great example.
No, it's perfect because the thoughts that take you away have a feeling or an emotion attached to
Yeah.
them. That crisis, my house is burnt down,
mhm.
I've lost everything, there's all of this, feeling.
we make
and,
meaning
and,
of, yeah.
that is really challenging. So, of course, those thoughts are going to take you somewhere. So what we do for the second half of the Learn to Meditate course is actually let's go into the feelings, because if we let the feelings go, all the thoughts disappear. And that's actually much more effective. So you can approach meditation so many different ways. So you just, by doing a few different ways, you go, oh, this works for me. And now that those feelings are going, all that, unpleasant feelings inside which were generating lots of
The
thoughts.
angst.
The angst. You think of someone that's been wronged at work. They feel like the boss did this or said that, and I didn't feel I could do anything about it, so I felt a bit powerless. How many millions of thoughts will that generate for the next 3 months, 4 months, 5 months?
And
if
how
they
reactive
continue to
are
stay
they?
there. Yes.
So they can't actually.
But if you
think
can
through
let the
things.
feeling go, okay, this mistake was made. You can either choose to leave or to make some other choices, and you will come to what's right for you. But if you let that feeling of being wronged go, those millions of thoughts that would have been generated have suddenly disappeared. So you're back into this quiet space.
So tell me, given that you are a business consultant during the daytime, do you ever find that part of your recommendation to people you work with is incorporate meditation, and how's that gone?
Well, actually, it isn't. They are quite separate. It's, in terms of principles, one's about helping businesses improve what they do, and on the personal level, it's about how to help people improve their lives. So often when it's business meetings and business discussions, it's really about business and, what's happening in terms of your marketing and where are your sales at and what are conversion rates like and all of those metrics that you use for measuring how successful businesses work. But I think the difference is because I'm present, really present, I'm listening for all the other things that aren't
The
being
people
said.
stuff.
But did they never say to you? Does nobody ever say to you, "Oh my goodness me, Michael, you're so calm. How do you do
Does the
that?"
question ever come up?
And you can then say, "Well, the opportunity's there," because it would seem a little bit churlish to not share something that's so valuable.
Yeah, it's interesting that the question just hasn't
Yeah.
come up. It's just about, well, how
Is
can
that
you
a
help me
business
do
thing?
this?
Do you
And
think?
let's
Is that just because business is not really about emotions and moods and the way we feel? And
look. Often it's
Yeah.
approached that way, and,
Yeah.
and I think of lots of the businesses that I work with, and so many of them are, men
Yeah.
in their 40s to 60s have owned the business for a number of years, and have got stuck at some place, and they just need help moving on from where they are.
yeah.
So it gets straight onto business, and
Yeah.
but when you really come down to it, it's usually a change inside them that needs to occur
Mm.
Absolutely.
for those business
How you
changes
approach that is
to
a
occur.
different thing.
Because they've got to step outside of their viewpoint to be
Yes.
able to take on, a different approach to the way that they're doing things, haven't they?
That's right. They,
So-
they get stuck in that place,
Yeah.
and
The mouse on the wheel.
yes, yeah, very much so.
Okay, so of the courses you've got, tell us about some of the other ones. So we've obviously got the chakra meditation, we've got Learn to Meditate. What other sorts of things do you do? Because I noticed there was one that sounded interesting about the real you that's coming up
Yes.
later this year.
And with that one, it's got much more of a psychological basis, and it's really focused on your authentic self versus your defensive self. And I know from discussions with you in the past, Jane, that you know quite a little bit about this work.
Personally,
Yes.
Well,
we
exploring
all
it
have-
currently.
Yeah, we all have a defensive
Yeah,
self.
yeah.
Yeah.
And we learn these defensive mechanisms as we're growing up because we feel this basic anxiety when we feel isolated or helpless or in a potentially hostile situation.
Mm.
And no one likes that anxiety feeling. No one likes it. So, well, I don't want to sit here and feel it, although actually that would be the best thing to do. But as a child, you don't have that knowledge, that awareness, those skills to do that. So you go, well, how can I behave differently so I can get myself in a situation where I'm never going to have to feel isolated, I'm never going to feel helpless, and won't be in a potentially hostile situation, or I'll control it somehow so that I don't feel that way.
Mm.
So we get this whole build-up of this defensive set of mechanisms. There's three, this is a really short summary, three basic ways of behaving. Towards defense is the person that goes towards everyone. I want to help them. I want to be friendly. I want to give good service. I'm, a nice person. I'll open the car door for you. I'll, let you in at the
the
lights.
good
I'll do all
guy.
those things. I'm the good guy, and I'm nice.
Mhm.
So you should like me because that's the way
Yeah.
I am.
Mhm.
So I do that so I don't have to feel isolated. Then the other way is other people might have more of an against defense, which is far more abrasive. They'll tend to say, you say, oh, it's a nice day, isn't it? No, it's not. They'll argue with almost anything you say because they want to be in control, and in any group, they're the ones on
They're
top.
contrary
generally.
wise.
Yes, very, very much so. And then the third defense is a way I'll just disconnect my feelings altogether, and people say, well, what do you feel about this? Nothing really. I just sort of coast along from one moment to the other, and I don't feel anything.
Or they're disengaged from
Don't- yeah,
conversations
almost a
and things like
numbness.
that. Yeah.
Yep. They don't want to go to social situations. They don't want to be involved in those.
This is fascinating. We have to play some more station sponsors and then we'll discuss further.
Mhm.
But he won't be telling me right now. Because you're in the last few minutes of Living Consciously with Jane and Tim, as opposed to Tracy this week. We have Michael Patterson from, what do you call yourself again?
From
Higher Truth.
Higher Truth.
Sorry, Michael. He's
That's
a
all right.
fabulous meditation leader and teacher. And we were just talking about the basic defense mechanisms that we have and how meditation can help you bust through those, basically, and find your authentic self. Is that how we describe it?
Yes, it's first of all
Bust through
become
gently.
yeah gently. First of all, just becoming aware.
Yep.
And it's amazing how much of a choice you have once you become aware. If you're not aware,
Yeah.
you can't do anything. Nothing will ever
Yeah.
change because you don't know what's going on.
That's
and then you
behavioural
start
change
seeing it.
101, though, isn't it?
Yeah. You start seeing, go, I do that everywhere.
Yeah.
I thought I just
Mm.
did it here, but I do it in every area of my life. Every aspect is affected by this. So then you can start making some
You
changes.
can't see my expression, but I'm smiling very wryly here.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So, so the authentic self, the real you, how does that then come out, and how does that apply and be useful in daily life, I suppose?
First of all, letting go of the defensive self makes a significant difference in itself. But we have these three ways of wanting to grow that are always there. And the first one is aloneness. We actually want to spend time alone to really connect with actually, what do I feel about this, or what do I think about this? I'm not in this groupthink situation where in work where it may be everyone says this and, gee, I'm not sure whether that's right, but I'm not sure how I feel. I just need some time to myself to get a sense of whether this is right or wrong. So there's that wanting to have some aloneness. Then the second one is assertion, about being assertive, and that's being assertive with yourself to start with. I'm going to get myself out of bed at 7 o'clock in the morning so I can have breakfast and catch the bus or the train or drive to wherever I want to get to so that I can work. And then it may be about then, well, actually I do need to talk to the boss about getting a raise, or actually I do need to do something differently here. I need to assert myself. And then the third one is affection, that being recognised as a person. I want to see other people. I want them to see me. I want to be acknowledged as an individual and to be...
So is that like recognising a need for affection for yourself?
Yes.
Is that,
Yep.
Yeah.
And that includes everything: touch, tenderness,
Yes,
all of those things.
Okay. So why do people come to meditation, or come to you, not come to you necessarily, but why do they come to the position where they think maybe meditation's the thing I need? What attracts people to it?
Most people, when they talk to me about it, generally say, I'm stressed, it's getting to the stage where I can't sleep. Some people start to say, look, I'm actually suffering from anxiety, I'm finding life getting pretty challenging. Some people with, mild depression. So there's a whole range of people that are coming. Often it will be parents bringing children with them that,
Wow.
teenagers from generally about 13 up will be coming along, and for same reasons. Busy minds, stressed, challenges at school, social media, all these things. And it's really having an impact on their lives. They're not happy. So they know that
it's really interesting, because we were talking very much earlier about Tim's upbringing, being able to have a 2-acre plot to, bounce around in and interact with nature and just be outdoors, and that there's been that movement away from that, as gardens have got smaller and more and more people live in apartments and they don't have outdoors areas for their kids, and they're all stuck into these electronic games. Have you seen that change really impact how kids are able to deal with themselves in relation to their peers?
Yes, very much so. The pressures from social media and this immediacy, I've got to respond straight away, and I have to be looking at my phone 500 times a day just in case something's come through. I couldn't think of anything worse. That the feeling of pressure and anxiety that must bring up for people is a very unpleasant place to be.
Are you starting to get recommendations or referrals from like GPs, for example? I mean, there's been a push towards them giving more lifestyle style of counselling versus reaching for the script and giving antidepressants. Are you finding that more GPs are prepared to suggest to people that they try meditation instead?
Look, absolutely. I'm getting lots of people that are referred from GPs, and fortunately there's enough research and enough science behind meditation there to go, actually, there's proven results. This is scientific. It's not just something you do and feel good and think, well, that's nice, but how can we prove that it did something? There's lots of scientific research that says, look, this is what happens when you meditate. There's some significant physiological changes. There's changes to brainwave patterns. Then people just feel a lot better for lots of really good reasons.
Have you got any success stories, case studies that you can share without naming names?
Look, I can. One particular guy, quite young, and he did a combination of quite a few of the meditation courses, and he also did the Real You course. And young guy had been pushed into a particular career by his parents because it wasn't the career that they, what he wanted to do wasn't what they thought would be the best thing for him. So he was in this role that quite good at it, but found incredibly challenging, and was at the stage where we'd had to leave a job because it was just not the right place for him. And he had a passion that he would, he'd go out at night and do, and get up early and disappear on weekends and do. And he's now doing that full time. He's been over to China and he's been doing what he loves doing, and it's not
fantastic.
I'm careful about what I
Yeah,
say, because
of course.
obviously people will know who this person is.
Yeah.
But the transformation to his life and some of the discussions that he's had with his parents about, I felt that I was forced, and they've just said, actually, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
That's exactly what we did.
That's really interesting, because
So
my
that's authentic.
sister-in-law was in a very similar situation to that, where she was going to be the third-generation doctor. And she did work experience in the Royal Children's Hospital and came home and said, I can't do that. I cannot be a doctor. She was too emotional about.
But she wanted to be a doctor, or
Well,
she wasn't sure?
It was just that everybody had assumed that she would be
It's
the
the gun thing,
third
the
doctor
yes, exactly.
in the family.
That's what we do in this
Grandfather did
family.
it, Dad
Yeah.
did it. I'm going to do
Can't
it.
not
She was
do
certainly
that.
smart enough to do it, and everybody
Yes.
just assumed she was the one
Yeah.
to do it.
Yeah.
And
It's very
I
portrayed.
remember my mother, her thought was, oh, what a waste that she's not doing it. And I said, Mum, she would destroy her. There's no way that she could do it. But that's the thing. We do get pushed down paths, don't we?
Yep.
Yeah. And I remember at one stage turning around and saying, I wish I'd done psychology at university. And my parents went, all that navel examining stuff, what's the point?
Yes.
Because that's the kind of family I grew up in. I had to come 12,000 miles away to find
Thanks for the support.
myself. Yeah. Well, it's just, but as Michael says, there is all these demands. There's not just the social media demands. There's all the family demands. There's all the expectations.
Yeah.
And unless we can actually recognise that that's what they are, and they're not us, they are impositions that have been ladled on us.
We have choices.
Then we don't have the choice until we recognise
Yes.
that, as you say. So that's amazing.
But if you never have any time to just sit alone and actually
Yes.
feel what's going on,
You're just caught in the whole
you
thing.
just get caught in
Yeah.
this wheel, and you're just going around and around.
Or you
and-
know that there's this uneasiness, and you
Yes.
can't label it. You don't know what it is, because, as you say, you haven't ever had the chance to sit and examine it, or you just get rushed along in
Yep.
the sweep of expectations, and not given that time to back off.
You can live your whole life that way.
Of course you can.
With
And
this
90% of the
uneasiness.
population do.
Yeah.
Yes.
Probably.
Yeah.
So, so you've got rooms in Sandringham. You offer the courses in Sandringham.
Yep. Corner of Bay Street and Bay Road and George Street. Yep.
Okay, and we've got highertruth.com.au is the website,
Yeah,
so
fine.
Yes.
people can get on there and find your various courses. Tell me a little bit more about The Real You. Is that actually a meditation course, or is that different?
It is different, but it includes meditation. So the meditation's a way of really tuning into actually what is going on here.
Because I think there's a huge push, and I see courses all the time offered, because that's probably the world that I'm in, are people saying, find your soul purpose, your journey in life, whatever it is, and then explore that and come out and share that with the world, because that's what we're all supposed to be doing now.
Find your passion.
Find your passion. Is that the kind of thing that you're offering, or is it more
I think you've got a
about?
customer already.
It sounds like it.
She's working up to it.
It's for that one. It's really about let's just be authentic.
Yep.
Let's practicing
Yeah.
being the real me.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
I'm sad, I'm going to say I'm sad. If I'm happy, I'm going to say actually I'm really happy, or I'm frustrated, or I'm annoyed. And that language around the office isn't appropriate. Oh, just keep that to yourself, will you? You've got a job to do. Off you go.
Yeah.
Do your job. I don't want to hear about any of that stuff.
Yeah.
This isn't the place to deal with it. I've got work for you to do.
So in another world that I'm in, that's called taking a stand for yourself or for somebody else. So if you can say to somebody else, actually, you know what, talking about this stuff doesn't serve you. It doesn't serve me. It certainly doesn't serve you. You're coming across as the office gossip. And, we are actually here to get on and do this. And being able to actually stand up and not then be seen as the person who's the killjoy or whatever, because you've stood up for what your values are. And I think that's the thing. Is that what it's partly about? It's about your values
It's
and
about
who you are?
absolutely finding
Yeah.
out what are your values, and your values change.
Yeah.
When you're young and there's a chance to socialise, well, the opportunity to be out with my friends and go and see a band or doing something is much more important than getting a good night's sleep. When you get a bit older like me, you go, I could go out, oh, gee, I'll be exhausted. It's going to take me 3 days to recover from that. No, look, there's a clash of my values. Which one's going to come out on top? At the moment, this one.
But
Yeah.
see, you talk about your values like that, but for most people, they don't even have the time to think about it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Look, it's been really fascinating. I'm very intrigued. I would love to learn a whole lot more, and I really, really appreciate you coming in. So it's Michael Patterson from highertruth.com.au. Are there courses that are available to start now? Do you have casual courses, don't you?
Yes, I do. So there's a range of casual courses, some one-off courses. There's all sorts of things that
It's all
are
on the
on the website.
All on the website. All right. Well, please feel free to explore those. I'll try and podcast this, Michael. So we've got there. But get on the website, have a look. It's all lovely and local, fantastic way of really slowing down in life and actually finding out what life really means for you. But other than that, we really appreciate you coming in. I appreciate you being here, Tim, and supporting me today. We've got Michael.